Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good to see everybody in here. Hey, Brat. Good to see you, girl number one. There you go. Good to see you. God bless. Number two, Miss Justice 111. All right. And there you go, girl. There you go. She is back in the running, top four. And let's see. Oh, Australia, happy birthday, girl. Happy birthday. Absolutely. It's Australia's birthday tonight. She's number three. All right. God bless. And just a small town girl, you are number four. Much love, PG. Much love to you guys. God bless. Good to see you in here. All right. Oh, Brad. I appreciate that, girl. I appreciate it. Yes. Hit the thumbs up, please. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. It helps this channel. It helps keep these kids out there. So, God bless and much love. Hey, Pam, I see you, girl. There's Stephanie. How you doing, hun? Janet, how you doing? Robin, good to see you. We got MFQB in here. I think we all understand what that goes for, right? Yeah, hit that thumbs up. Absolutely. God bless. That is hilarious. Hey, Karen, how you doing tonight, girl? God bless. I get down through here. Hey, Jane, how you doing? Good to see you. Lady Q, there you are, girl. I see you. Lorianne, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you in here. There's Lori K. All right. The legendary. How you doing? Welcome in, everyone. Amen. Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate you, my moms. I appreciate each and every one of you. God bless. This isn't like PG. I hope everything's okay. Yeah, I think everything's good. I think everything's good. Hey, Mar, how you doing, sweetie? How you doing? God bless. Hey, Molly, absolutely. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. It's my birthday and I cry if I want to, cry if I want to. You would cry too if it happened to you. Dun, 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 dun. All right. There you go, girl. I sing a happy birthday to you. Hey, PG's little girl, how you doing tonight? God bless. Good to see you, grieving mama. Oh, that is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Prayers for all the missing children. Prayers and justice for Summer Moon Utah Wells. Peace for her Summer brothers. Prayers for all of Summer's army. Prayers for peace. Amen. Amen. Name of Jesus. Hey, I appreciate that, girl. Hey, Pauline, how you doing? Good to see you in here. Hold on, I'm passing up. I'm passing up. There's I'm that bee mama bear. How you doing tonight? Good to see you in here, girl. Good to see you in here. I'm trying to get to the bottom, you guys. I'm working to the bottom. I hope I didn't miss nobody. I hope I didn't miss nobody. I tried to get as many as I could coming down the pike. Happy birthday, Karen. Absolutely. We got two birthday girls in here tonight. We got two, not one. I'm doing good, girl. Doing good. Hey, Peter Chow, how you doing, sweetie? All right. I'm going to yeah, happy birthday, ladies. Absolutely. God bless. Good to see everybody in here. Hold on 1 second, you guys. Okay, I didn't want to, you guys, I didn't want to snap a can in you guys' ears. I know a lot of people wear those headphones, and man. But I'll click my lighter. All right, I'll click my lighter. Hey, Charlie, how you doing, sweetie? Anyway, Carmen, how you doing? Good to see you. All Purple Hearts for summer. God bless. That is beautiful. She said headphones. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I wanted to come in because uh Andy Bernard, he's got a lot of explaining to do, right? Andy Bernard's got a lot of explaining to do. What I ain't understanding is, he tells us about how he had this, he woke up, right? He woke up. First, it's supposed to be a dream. And then he says it wasn't a dream, that, he got pulled out of his sleep by the funeral music across the road, and, and somebody over there being buried, and all of this stuff. He's changed his story. He's changed his story quite a few times. He's changed up, kind of like Jody Sue, right? A whole lot like Jody Sue. And yeah, I'm going to tell you, Andy and Jody Sue, I'm going to tell you, if I was a bitten person, okay, I guess I am. Right? But if I was going to bet on this particular, this particular case, as far as Jody Sue and Andy having all details to what happened to Summer, I'd bet 10-1 they do. That's just me. That's, my money would be on, yeah, they know. My money would also be on, yeah, somehow they're tied up in this, right? That's my opinion. I very much believe that these people, are like all one, as in, criminal minded, working together. They had some type of operation going. That's my opinion. These people, had some type of operation going up there, where all of them, was making money. They was making money by, supplying something. I think each one was supplying something. And I'm not so, I'm gonna bring some things to the light tonight. There's gonna be some things brought to the light tonight. Right here, Andy Bernard says, or Piper says, Miss Donna, the neighbor, Andy, took me to where he believes Summer is buried. I have marked on a map and pics of the site on my community tab. And she says, just in case it would help at all, you mentioned funeral home, and it's relevant to what the neighbors told me. Okay. And this is, comes from CSI Piper. So this particular lady, everybody said she was, having an affair with Andy. I'm hearing she didn't have no affair with Andy. I'm hearing that, she was just trying to get some information, and, you know, was down there, had met up with him, and, you know, talked with him. And I mean, I'm not saying, you know, that he probably, you know, wasn't trying to put that into the works. But it sounds like she wasn't having it. She was just, you know, trying to get information for Summer. I don't know. I don't know this Piper person. To be honest with you, you know, the only way I know the other YouTubers is if, you know, they're coming at me sideways, or at some point did come at me sideways. And that's, you know, that's the only way I know the ones that I know right now. You know, and then a few that I really liked, like Molly Golightly. She didn't ever come at me at all or anything like that. She's a really nice lady. And you know, I didn't ever hear really say nothing bad about me. You know, so, and you know, Bullhorn Betty, you know, I know a lot of people, you know, have mixed emotions over Bullhorn Betty. And I guess at certain times I did as well, you know, but for the most part, you know, I really liked Bullhorn Betty. She really, you know, when it came to Quentin Simon's case, man, I'm going to tell you what, she was right on top of it. Sebastian Rogers, she was right on top of it. You know, she even put boots in the ground for Summer. You know, she's been a real advocate for these missing kids. And, you know, and she has her own style. She has her own way and her own style going about it. And, you know, God bless her. God bless her. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think she's, you know, I think that her main goal is, you know, these children, and to bring them home and to get justice for them, and do what's righteous in the sight of God for the missing children. I haven't ever seen Bullhorn Betty cuddling no suspects ever, you know, so I did like her. And as far as I know, she didn't ever come at me in any way, form, or how. And I like, you know, JLR. I love that guy. I absolutely love that guy. He is hilarious. Some of the things he does is absolutely hilarious. And I like Dolly. I like Dolly as well. You know, I ain't got nothing, you know, I ain't got nothing against Dolly, or, you know, the girl he's dating. The girl he's dating seems to be a really nice person as well. So, you know, and Justin, you guys know I love him. I adore that. I adore Justin. So, you know, but I don't know this Piper person. You know, I can't say I do. So I don't know, you know, the truth about whether, you know, Andy and her, everybody tried to tell me they had a thing going, but it doesn't sound like it. It doesn't sound like it. So I don't know. I don't know. Hey, absolutely. I love Justin. Matter of fact, he was covering up Summer's case tonight. I got to stop in, you know, just for a second. I'm very busy, but I got to stop in for a second, and, you know, and I was rooting him on. I was cheering him. I heard him talking about, you know, Don and Candace and what they truly are. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, absolutely. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Amen. You tell him, brother, you tell him. And he was right on the money with that. Absolutely. What little bit I got to hear, it was like, yes, you know, definitely. But this particular lady says that, you know, Andy takes her to a graveyard. Now, we got Andy saying, you know, he had a dream of a graveyard. He's supposed to have a dream of seeing Summer's online body. You know, first he said that Jody Sue was just, you know, out of her, you know, was cray cray, and and, you know, in his opinion, and that she just wanted to cause him a lot of problems, and she was telling lies and saying stuff, and that wasn't no truth to it. And because I went and got on him, remember? I went and got on him and called him out. And you know, he was saying all this stuff. And then he comes back and says it's a dream, you know, like Don Wells, right? That's so Raven moments and dreams, you know, and so forth. I think they find it like an inside joke. They find it funny or something. And I'm going to tell you, when it comes to a missing little girl's case, an innocent 5-year-old child, that there's nothing funny about it. You know, nothing funny at all. Matter of fact, you know, it just goes to show you how sinister and really evil they are when they can do this in a 5-year-old innocent missing little girl's case. When they have, you know, no remorse, no mercy, no kindness, no love, no anything for this little child. You got to be a special kind of evil, you know, not to want to help a missing little child. And you've got to be a different type of, you know, real evil if you have a hand in a child going missing like that. If you had a hand in anything to hurt a child, you know, you're a super special kind of evil. So, you know, and it sounds like these people, you know, are, in my opinion, they, you know, it definitely sounds like they're that super special kind of evil. Because I don't find anything funny, you know, about saying, I had a dream, you know, we know where that came from. And, you know, and I had a vision. We know where that came from too. So, you know, it's just like they get off on playing games, right? And that's just sick. That's sick, to be honest. But he said, you know, that it was a dream. And then all of a sudden, you know, the gravesite, he says, was a dream as well. And then he's like, no, comes back and he says, no, I was woken out of my sleep by funeral music, and they're having a, you know, a burial across the road. And, you know, and that's, you know, when I started to, you know, believe that that's where Summer was, and so forth and so on. So, you know, you can't trust or believe them at all, to be honest with you. When it comes to, you know, how they know. But, you know, I do believe they know. And I think that, you know, Jody Sue, you know, is one of those people, you know, the only time she really, you know, starts to turn her life towards God is when, you know, things ain't going really good with her, and, you know, and she, you know, is really bad off, maybe, you know, thinking she's going to meet her maker or something. Then she gets, you know, pray for me, and, you know, all of this godly stuff. And, but, you know, as long as she's over there, you know, filling top of the bucket, and, you know, feels like she ain't having no complications or issues or anything, she's like, you know, don't even think about God, and just spreading horrible, ugly, terrible, sinister stuff that, you know, makes no sense whatsoever. And then she throws in, you know, a little truth here and there, and she tries to retract that as well, right? She tries to retract that as well. And hold on to, you know, I don't think they want Summer's case solved, because I think if Summer's case is solved, they're all afraid that they're going to, you know, go down creek with everybody else surrounding this case as well. You know, but I think Andy is a little bit worried. I think he's a little worried about his soul and where his soul might end up at. I mean, that's my opinion. I think he worries more than Jody Sue, is what I'm saying. And I think at a certain time, Andy did want Little Summer found. I think Andy, sometimes he wants to change his life, sometimes he don't. That's my opinion. Sometimes he wants to get on the right road. And I think he worries about, if he's going to get into that pearly gate or he's not. And I think what I'm saying is I think Andy is capable, is very capable of feeling guilt. You guys gotta bear with me. I've been dealing with this cold, and I'm telling you, it's like everybody around me, I don't know where this shit comes from, but everybody I've met, it's like, oh my gosh, you got that cold too, and they got it, right? They got it as well. And I'm like, I don't even know where this stuff came from, but it seems like it's running rampant. I don't know if any of you have got that freaking cough. Is worse at night. It's worse at nighttime than it is during the day, but it is absolutely not, it's not good. It's not real bad. I mean, it don't stop you from working or doing stuff, but just enough to irritate the hell out of you. You know what, Amanda? I don't know what you say. I have no idea what you would say. I just wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want to be in those boots because, God's going to show you. He's going to show you your part in it all, right? He's going to show you your part. If you do evil, do you think that we're the only ones that have movie screens? Absolutely not. The only difference is God don't need a projector. All right, he don't need a projector. He's that big movie screen is going to pop up, and you're going to see, all the evil you done and didn't get forgiven for. You're going to see, your hand in all of that evilness. I don't think you want to ask God, why am I, Lord, why can't I get in heaven? I think you already know if you've done really sinister stuff. I think you already know. And you didn't repent, you didn't get righteous, you didn't, confess. You didn't confess and, try to make it right. I don't know. That's, that's not, I wouldn't want to, have none of that on me. Right? But, Andy says he had, had this dreams and then he says, no, it was real. And, we don't know what to believe as far as how he knows over there that she's in that grave. But I'm pretty sure he does. And not only that, but you guys know that, that we went up there, and you guys know that my friend got out of the vehicle and that grave was camouflaged. It was hidden. It was absolutely covered over, completely covered over, as if they didn't want it to be found. And, that was insane as well, right? That was insane as well. So why are they trying to hide this particular grave? Now, we got Andy at the beginning, you know, within the week of Summer coming up missing. We've got Andy already, you know, already believing the Summer's over there in that grave, right? He's already telling us, hey, you know, I knew that grave was open on the 15th. I knew this guy was getting put down on the 18th, you know. Um, so and he knows the dates, honey. He knows the dates. I mean, he knows the dates. Like when people remember stuff, trust me, when people, you know, are able to call out names and they're able to call out dates, they had their hands in that shit. They, you know, because if you don't got your hands in something, you're like, what? You know, you you ain't calling out no dates, you ain't calling out no names, because hell, you can't remember because you was, you know, you didn't have nothing to do with it. It wasn't a priority for you, right? It wasn't a priority for you. The only time that you know dates and names is when it's a priority for you. And you know, you got to have something in it um to remember all that stuff. And he did. He remembered the date that this guy passed away. He remembered, you know, the date Summer got taken. He remembers, you know, he said there was a blue tin up over there when law enforcement was up there looking for Summer, the big blue tin up there. Um, he also said, you know, and Jody Sue did too. They both said there was a blue tin up there, right? Covering that grave site. And both of them, you know, has called out that grave site on numerous occasions. On numerous occasions. Both of them, you know, we got Andy saying, you know, right at the time Timothy Morrison was being buried, we got him saying that, you know, the funeral music woke him right out of his sleep, and, you know, and he was thinking about how, you know, this guy's going down on top of Summer, right? That this guy's being put down on Summer. So that's within days of Summer, you know, missing. And then we have, you know, Andy Bernard taking this lady, you know, to the gravesite, right? And saying, this is exactly where I think she's buried. And then we have, you know, Andy Bernard coming into Jody Sue's chat saying, you know, I think she's in Morrison Cemetery, and I'm not afraid to say it. As if he should have a reason to be afraid. You know, something had to be on his mind for him to, you know, continue with, and I'm not afraid to say it. You know, so that tells me there's more people than Andy mixed up in this stuff. And he is intimidated by someone. By someone he is intimidated. As much as he don't want to believe it, he is. So, you know, that's what I'm talking about. Now, you know, you got Andy taking this lady to Morrison Cemetery. That's where I believe he took her, to Morrison Cemetery. I believe he went up there and he pointed out Timothy Morrison's grave to her. But then he takes Ryan to a different grave. He takes Ryan to a different graveyard, right? He don't take Ryan over to Morrison Cemetery. He doesn't take Ryan to Timothy Morrison's grave. He takes Ryan to some other graveyard, you know, right there. I think she's in Morrison Cemetery. I'm not scared to say it, but here he is at a different graveyard. He's steering Ryan in a different direction. Why? And the other grave that, you know, the other grave he's been saying she's in, well, it's there, but it's, you know, it's covered over. It's you know, if you didn't know right where to find it, you wouldn't, because they had, you know, stuff all over the top of it, so no one would take note that that grave even existed. right? So that's what I'm talking about, Old boy's up there, and and he's even, and look how disrespectful. He's like dipping his foot. He's putting his foot on somebody's tombstone. And I think that's kind of disrespectful, right? I mean, you should be, sweeping it off. You should be sweeping it off, maybe, pull, if it's got grass around it or whatever, you know, you might want to pull the grass away from it and try to clean it up a little bit and, maybe sweep it off, but you don't put your big foot on it. I mean, who in the hell does that? Who does that? I don't even know. These people there's something different. There's something different, that's for sure. But
I have said this since the beginning to people that made a difference. That I've told people about having the dream.
put a one, put a one in the chat if you think law enforcement makes a difference. If you think law enforcement, he says he, told this to people who make a difference. Put a one if you believe law enforcement makes a difference, because I do. I believe that law enforcement makes a difference. And if you're going, why doesn't he say it to law enforcement? Why isn't he saying it to law enforcement? I mean, that's who he needs to be saying it to, right? Just saying. Just saying. Absolutely. I think they do too. I really believe that they count and they do make a difference. Matter of fact, they make a bigger difference in this case than anybody, because it's their case to be solving. They're the law. That's what they get paid for. So they make one hell of a difference. I don't know why he's not talking to them. That is a question, right, Molly? That is a question. I got to agree with you on that.
That I've, in the open grave, it's been told, it's not a lie. And I have heard my whole life that the best time to get rid of somebody is when there's an open grave. The dude was buried on what day? The 18th? Okay, so what? Okay, so 3 days after Summer went missing, they
See, he knows the dates.
buried that dude. Do you think they dug the grave the day that Summer went missing? I'm saying it was dug between the day the dude died and the day Summer went missing, the 11th. Not if she went over there on the 15th when Candace left at some point in time off that fucking hill, took her over there. Maybe she went to Fred's and Fred helped her. If it was open on the 15th, all she would have had to do is go over there and dig down just a little bit more, put her in there, cover her back up. When they brought the vault in a few days before they buried the dude, the concrete vault would have been set on top of it, and nobody would have known no different. And we know who dug the graves. We know all that shit. So I don't think nobody would have paid any attention to if she was done in there the day of the 15th.
Wow. They all know the people who dig those graves. He don't think they're going to pay no attention to that grave over there because everybody knows everybody. Everybody calls you friend, right? Perfect place. Perfect place. And Candace did go down to Fred's. We know she went down to Fred's. And Chad Arnold met up with Chad Arnold down there. Now we know that she follows Chad Arnold out of Ben Hill Road. We know that for a fact. But I want to play something else before I move on. Before I move on to what I'm about to say. I want to play something else here for you.
Usually you can see the road because they have went through here and mowed and took down a bunch of stuff away from the power lines.
Okay.
But usually it's full up. You can't even see the road.
That day, though, how was it? Was it full up, or was it like this?
That day and a few days prior to that, they were working on this.
Okay.
So I've even come to a conclusion maybe one of them people have snatched it.
Oh, interesting.
Because they were all the way up here on
Yeah,
my
I see. That.
You cannot see up on that hill whether the foliage is up or the foliage is down. You cannot see up on that hill. No way in hell. And look how steep that is. A screaming, kicking, shouting, 40-pound, 5-year-old, scratching, biting, carrying on. And we know summer was pretty rough. So she's going to be given if somebody grabs her up, she's going to really be giving it to them. She's going to be, and we knew she had a high pitch. Remember she was in the car and she screamed and she got threatened, right? She got threatened. By someone in the vehicle said, if you do that again, she had a high-pitched voice. And with Candace and Grandis right there outside, there is no way someone came down this hill packing a 40-pound kid, kicking, screaming, biting and scratching and carrying on. They would have, it would have hurt them both. They would have both been hurt coming down here. I mean, they'd have been hitting those trees. It would have been a mess. And there would have been evidence. There would have been evidence of that. Trust and believe there would have been a lot of evidence if that was the case. So, with that being said, Candace is, this is more of her gaslighting and her BS, thinking that, and you could tell when she was talking to Chris M, she was looking at him like, are you buying my BS? Right? She was really staring to try to see if, he was buying it.
Those,
Parks here.
Okay, your mom's truck's right here.
Yes.
Okay, so when she's leaning against the milk. Is she sleeping?
She was sleeping, yes.
Okay. From exhaustion from that day?
Yes, she was. Where I woke her up early and she usually sleeps until 9, 10, even 12 o'clock if I let her.
Okay. How did the milk bottles get rearranged? Hunter said he had them on the floor and then he put them next to him.
They weren't.
Is that true?
No.
Okay, so walk me through that.
When we dropped them off, they were actually still on his lap.
Okay.
And he put them on the other side of Summer.
Okay. So he reached over?
Yeah, he set them over there by that. That's a black tote she had in there.
Oh, a black tote she had in there. Did you hear that? A black tote that she had in there. When she said she's talking about Grandis. A black tote she had in there. What do you guys see? What do you guys see in there? Because I see brown boxes. I don't see no black tote. I see brown boxes. I see the milk stuffed up underneath this box to hold it in place. I seen another box on the floor holding the other milk jug in place. I seen, this seat belt really tight to hold Summer in place. I see that hood pulled so far to the freaking left, right? Well, it would be your right. It would be your right if you're looking at the screen, but it would be Summer's left. I see the hood pull so far to the left that you could tell someone was using that hood to actually, you know, bring her up and put her back, bring her up, put her back, to, you know, to adjust her on those jugs right there. Somebody was working really hard to adjust her to be able to stay that way. And to be honest with you, I think they even used the orange crush bottle because it's wedged between the back seat and her, you know, and her hips. They, you know, it's like they crammed it in at an angle to try to, you know, so she wouldn't slide. And, you know, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. But you heard Candace say black tote.
Where I woke her up early and she usually sleeps until 9, 10, even 12 o'clock if I let her.
Okay. How did the milk bottles get rearranged? Hunter said he had them on the floor and then he put them next to him.
They weren't.
Is that true?
No.
Okay, so walk me through that.
When we dropped them off, they were actually still on his lap.
Okay.
And he put them on the other side of Summer.
Okay. So he reached over?
Yeah, he set them over there by that. What's a black tote she had in there?
Black tote she had in there. Now, what I believe, because this is not black tote, honey. This is boxes. What I believe is Candace slipped up. I think when they got back to the house, and dropped Granny off up there on Ben Hill Road after they took this video and went back up on the hill and gaslighted the boys into believing that their sister was running around somewhere. You know, that they were home and you know, she was out there running around somewhere. I believe that what Grandis and Candace did is put Summer in a black tote. And then they put it in this back seat. And that's what was in the back seat when she went down to Fred's. When she went down to Fred's house to meet up with Chad Arnold, I believe when she went down there, Summer was at that point in a black tote. And I think the reason that Grandis and Candace put Summer into a black tote and then put her in the back of here to be, you know, to go meet up with Chad is because one, they didn't want no scent. And I'm sure they put something, you know, something inside that tote as, you know, to mask the smell as well. Also, they put her in that tote and put it in the back seat in case the boys came out looking for their sister. Well, then Candace would have to act like she's missing early and she would have to go down off the hill and like she's going to look for Summer, and they would just delay calling law enforcement until Candace got back. You know, they had it all planned out. They had it all planned out, in my opinion. You know, they hid her in that black tote in case the boys did come out looking for her. They wouldn't be able to see her anywhere. And then Candace be like, what? We sent her in the house. I'm sure she went into the house. You know, she would have an alibi. And also they needed to put her in there, like I said, you know, to mask the smell. And also, you know, to contain her down in the, you know, wherever they buried her, which I believe it's Morrison Cemetery. I believe they took that tote over there because, you know, black tote, they wanted it the same color as the earth. They wanted it to, you know, when they put a blue tote or a red tote or a different color tote would have stood out. You know, somebody might have spotted it down in there. But a black tote, the same color as the dirt, they're not going to, you know, and where to get a black tote? You know, and that even shows even more that this was planned out and carried out, because they already went out and they found a black tote to be able to put her in, right? They made sure that they had a black tote, not a blue one, not a green one, not a red one. They made sure that freaking tote was black, the same color as the ground. So that even proves more of what we were thinking. Summer was sick. Summer had to be done away with to keep everybody from going to prison. And they planned it. They planned it out to a T. And like Andy Bernard said, I said it. I've said it many, many times. I have said it. Right? He says, I have said it.
Did this since the beginning to people that made a difference. That I've told people about having the dream that I've, in the open grave. It's been told. It's not a lie. And I have heard my whole life that the best time to get rid of somebody is when there's an open grave. The dude was buried on what day? The 18th? Okay, so 3 days after Summer went missing, they buried that dude. Do you think they dug the grave the day that Summer went missing? I'm saying it was dug between the day the dude died and the day Summer went missing, the 11th. Not if she went over there on the 15th when Candace left at some point in time off that fucking hill, took her over there. Maybe she went to Fred's and Fred helped her. If it was on the 15th, all she would have had to do is go over there and dig down just a little bit more, put her in there, cover her back up. When they brought the vault in a few days before they buried the dude, the concrete vault would have been set on top of it, and nobody would have known no different. And we know who dug the graves. We know all that shit. So I don't think nobody would have paid any attention to if she was done in there the day of the 15th.
There you go. There you go. As he said, she probably went down there to Fred's. Well, she did, and met up with Chad Arnold and followed Chad Arnold right out up Ben Hill onto Beach Creek, where Morrison Cemetery is, where the open grave was. And you heard Candace slip up and say there was a black tote there instead of the dang brown boxes, right? So we know where Summer was after they got home. We know, we know where they put her once they got up on the hill in a black tote, back into that vehicle. Right? That's my opinion. You heard Candace mess up. Exactly. I believe that Summer is down there under that vault in a black tote. And they probably think that, if they was to put a camera down in there, they wouldn't be able to see the black tote because of the, the earth and the dirt and everything being the same color, and it being so dark that the black tote wouldn't be noticeable. It would be hard to spot on camera. These people know what they're doing. These are some hardened criminals right here. And Andy Bernard, was hanging with Don Wells. These two were besties. They were besties. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know what went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, and I don't know why Summer had to pay the price, pay the price for whatever, was going on. But she did. That's my opinion. But Andy Bernard knows all about vehicles because he worked at a garage. And Domwell started driving Candace's vehicle on the 14th. He wasn't driving it for 3 or 4 days. He was driving it for 2. He started driving it on the 14th, fired a co-worker to blame it on, and then he drove it on the 15th when everything went down. 2 days. And he admits he drove it for Starlink. He said, I had my phone, I had Starlink, I had, my boss and some other workers. I had a ton of alibis. How are they going to do anything to me? I know where I was. And he was armed up. He was armed up where he was. He was making sure he wasn't going down. Well, Grandis and Candace picks up a 15-year-old kid, goes to a swimming hole, uses grandma's knee as an excuse to be in Kingsport that day. And then an excuse to go pick up this boy. I'm telling you, this shit was, man, it was planned. These people planned it up. They carried it out. And this little girl paid the price for their pure freaking evilness. Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. God bless. Super sticker. All right. Hey, girl. I appreciate it. God bless. God bless. But yeah, that's exactly, the way I believe it went down. It's the way, if you look at all the, if you look at all of what, it's not us. Let me explain this right now. First and above all, this is not our words, you guys. This is not none of our words. This is their words coming out of their mouths. This is everything they have said. We're taking everything, all the information that these people, the suspects surrounding Summer's case, we have took all of their own words, and what we have done is we have formed what happened June 15th, 2021. We've listened to everything these people said. We took it in consideration. We put the puzzle together, and everything that they've been saying, and everything that, all their slip ups and all their stuff has come down to one thing. All their actions, it's their own words, their own actions, have allowed us to understand that what happened to Summer was premeditated and carried out. Just Don Wells changing up that vehicle on the 14th, firing his co-worker to blame it all on the 15th when it all went down, was enough to tell us that it was premeditation and carried out. We didn't need anything else to know that. That was elementary. That's elementary right there. And then you take Jody Sue getting pissed off at Andy because he put a ring on another thing, and she comes flying out, right? And she comes flying out.
All right. Well, that's good. Y'all go over there and ask why exactly it is he was selling drugs to the children at 110. Why he was potentially causing little girls over there to be sedated and to be touched with the shit he was selling over there. Go ask. Because I have fucking questions. Not standing in front of him anymore. Yeah. And I found about a few days before all the shit went down. I'm not kidding, dude. And I got the fucking receipts on it. And I'm sure law enforcement does as well. He had known Summer was also being abused, and he hid it from everybody, including me. And he was very much selling drugs to the children at 110. And to Candace for those children. Now, what all that was, I don't know. But I do know it was happening. And I very much think it plays a role in what was happening to other little girls over there. And I very much do think that it could be part of why Summer looked so asleep. Is maybe possibly Candace giving her the shit Andy was selling to her. So go ask. Because I still have fucking questions. And I think that it was occurring since before the Utah trip. It is part of why Josie was taken to Utah. Even though that was kind of a fucking lie. Right? Why he went to Utah. But it's Andy's fault. And Candace's. You remember Candace saying Josie was, or Alice, or one of them, talking about how Josie was using, and it was the reason he was taken. It's not the reason Josie was taken out there. But shit occurring around that time is why.
There you go. There you go. She's basically saying that Josie was taken out there, you know, to be, you know, the stuff that basically what Jody Sue's saying is they were trafficking. They were, you know, sedating and trafficking minor children. And the reason that Josie was taken to Utah is because, you know, well, I don't think I have to tell you what she's alluding to there. And here Candace is back on the hill, you know, carrying out that trafficking. And Candace is back on the hill meeting up with who? Andrew Halt, right? Andrew Halt at a storage unit. Bringing some guy home named Jose that they didn't know from Adam, but brought him home and let him sleep in the house, hang around the house, have access to the children. Thank God that, you know, he wasn't one of those type of people. Right? And here comes Don back with Josie, right? Don comes back to the house with Josie after having him up in Utah. And, you know, God knows what. You know, Mary said that they went out there, you know, in the mobile home that Don and Josie was staying in and found, you know, illegal substances and paraphernalia and all the stuff, right? So it tells that, you know, Don's out there, you know, obviously using and these people, you know, seem to sedate up the children as well. And Don didn't want that boy inside the house. He didn't want them, you know, seeing or talking to this child at all. What was they hiding? So basically Jody Sue's saying, you know, Don takes this boy up there to use and abuse, right? Well, he's gone. And Candace is back in Tennessee, meeting up at a storage unit with a bunch of people that seem to have a load of humans that they just brought down there. Too many to, you know, too many for just a car and a two-seater truck. So they had to have been a lot of people in the back of that U-Haul. Did those people get put in a storage unit? And according to Allison, you know, Andrew was up on the hill along with Jose and some of the others. According to Allison said that Candace had these people up on 110. She didn't say, you know, she offered them to be up there. She said they were up there. That's what Allison said. And I believe it. And I believe it. Right? Absolutely. And you know, that's probably why Andrew, you know, has his nose stuck so far into this case. He's probably, you know, if the truth comes out, he's probably going to be in prison too, right? Because I'm sure Candace is going to give up everything. She's going to give up everything on everybody. She's going to be doing everything she possibly can to get her sentence down, you know, to the bare minimum. So she's going to be talking. She's going to talk about Andrew and the storage unit. She's going to talk about, you know, Allie and Hunter. She's going to talk about, you know, Andy and Jody Sue. She's going to talk about Fred and Laura. She's going to talk about Chad Arnold and Marlena Crawford and you know, and their brother, and they're going to tell about everybody. And I think, you know, they kind of have been. I think they kind of have been the whole time. You know, when they were wanting to take the focus off themselves and throw all these other people under the bus. Remember how Don said, you know, the Light brothers, he put under the bus. I mean, at the very, very beginning, they wanted to put that poor old man under the bus, right? They wanted to put him because he was an outsider, and but nobody was buying it because law enforcement says, hey, we know where this guy was the whole time and he didn't do anything. So please don't be bothering this man. Don't be, you know, harassing this man. This man, you know, we know that this man, you know, didn't have anything to do with this particular case. He was at a hotel. He was on surveillance the whole time. Even his dog was on surveillance, right? And he was, you know, outside of the area, nowhere near the area. So please leave him alone. But Don and Candace, you know, that's who they wanted to push first. And when it didn't work, then Don started saying, you know, the Light brothers. And then he started saying, you know, Allison and her family. And then he said, you know, Dudley. First off, he you know, he went on Dudley. And Dudley, you know, his car broke down and the law enforcement cleared Dudley and Dobbs. Once that happened, we got the Light brothers, which has been in trouble for what? What has Frank Light been in trouble for? I think we all know, right? And then you got he tossed out, you know, after that he was tossing out Andy Bernard and Jody Sue. He was, you know, and what did they got? They got that son, and that son, you know, let's go back to Jody Sue about her son, because Jody Sue said, Jody Sue actually made a statement that Andy saw Summer's online body, okay? And she said he was terrifying his daughter, right? I can't remember what she calls her daughter, but she says he was terrifying her daughter. And then she's, you know, and people, you know, to solidify it, she went and got her daughter to come out, right, on another creator's panel. And her daughter said, I know, Daddy was talking to me and Bubs, which is her brother, me and my brother. Well, you know, I don't think that Andy was actually talking to his daughter at all. I think Andy was talking to his son, right? That's who I think he was talking to, myself. You know, Jody Sue, why did Jody Sue try to protect? Why did she try to protect the fact that her son was there when Andy was doing this? I mean, she didn't say that, you know, he's trying to terrify the children, my kids, you know, as in my daughter and son both. She was saying my daughter, she was trying to leave her son out of the equation. Kind of like Hunter was trying to, you know, leave his wet britches out of the equation, right? We all seen him go in the water, but Summer's the only one wet, according to Hunter. Summer is the only one wet from swimming, not him. He ain't got no wet britches, but we know he did because we saw him going into the water. And he, you know, he was, you know, a little too high up, right? He was too high up before Candace turned the video off. He was already, you know, the water was already up over his pants legs, getting ready to head up to his stomach, right? So, you know, we know he was wet, but he wanted to, you know, gaslight us into believing, oh no, he's dry. And Jody Sue did the same thing with her boy. She did the same thing with her boy as Hunter did. You know, she wanted to leave him out of the equation, just like Hunter wanted to leave himself and his wet britches out of the equation. And, you know, so when people do this, it's a sign of freaking guilt. It's, you know, they got a dog in the race, baby, or they wouldn't be trying to hide stuff. If you ain't got a dog in a race, then you know, you don't care, right? You say, hey, he was trying to scare up my kids, both of my kids, you know, he's going at both of my kids. I don't know what his problem is. You know, that's the way you're going to talk because you don't care, because you don't got a dog in the race and you're innocent and it doesn't matter. But it did matter because she was trying to keep her son out of the equation when he was right there listening to Daddy talk about seeing Summer's online body. And then Jody Sue comes out later and she makes another statement that the reason her boy went in the military was to get away from Summer's case. Well, if he's innocent, why does he got to go in the military to get away from Summer's case? Make that make sense. Can anybody answer that for me? I wish somebody could. I wish they would, you know, because to me, it don't make no sense. Right? I know if me and my family was innocent and we done nothing, I ain't sending nobody no damn where to get away from anything. Because we have nothing to hide. And I do know if I start sending people off, then obviously it's for a reason. And it couldn't be a good one. It couldn't be a good one. Right? And that's another thing. Why is she keeping her daughter isolated? What does her daughter know that Jody Sue's afraid might be told to a little girlfriend? Or, you know, if her daughter actually got out in public, got around real kids at school, got around other people, what is Jody Sue so afraid her daughter's going to say? You know, Don Wells is keeping his son isolated up in Utah, away from Mary and them, because of why? Because Don Wells has everything to hide. Right? He has everything to hide, nothing to gain by Mary and them knowing his business. And so why is Jody Sue isolating this child? I mean, doesn't this child need, you know, to interact with other children? Doesn't she need to be out there interacting with society? I mean, even my kids, you know, do I homeschool? Yes. But we also, you know, we also meet up with other homeschool families at parks and at different locations and so forth and so on for history and science and you know, and a lot of things, and they get to interact with one another. We also, you know, have picnics and stuff like that with other families, and also in our community, my kids hang with all the other kids. I mean, they go, you know, swimming together, they go shoot basketball together, they, you know, they mix and they mingle and they hang out, and you know, nobody's keeping anybody out of society. It's abnormal to isolate your child like that. And if she's isolating her child up like that, then what does she feel her child knows that may be told that could get someone in trouble? Just saying. Don't you guys find it weird that she sends her one kid off to the military and isolates her other one? Put a one in the chat if you think that's suspicious. Because I do. I think that's fucking weird. Just saying. Oh, yeah, definitely. I think Kathy the friend and Candace Wells knew each other long before Summer went missing. That, you know, that's my opinion. And I'm pretty damn sure they did. Because Kathy the friend was too weird. She was just too damn weird and too into helping Candace cover up, you know, whatever needed to be covered up. Just saying. That woman was a liar, promised you know, she came out and basically, you know, she came out and basically tried to, you know, capitalize off of the back of little Summer by lying. And then she promised us all that she was going to take that. She said that her husband took that box to law enforcement, that she ended up, you know, and we believed her. We believed that she took it to law enforcement, her husband. We believed they took it there and left it, only to find out that Candace went and picked it up from her, that she didn't ever turn it over to nobody but Candace. I don't think it's suspicious, only because I saw what some creators reached out to her minor child, and the things bordered on criminal. I don't blame Jody Sue Brown for protecting her kid. You know, protecting your child and isolating your child is two different things. You do know that, right, April? Not allowing your child to socialize with other children and be a normal teenager, a normal, you know, child that's kind of abuse. That's like abuse. I mean, protecting your child is, you know, knowing where it's at all times, right? Protecting your child is like knowing where your child is, making sure that you know the parents of the friend's house they're at, making sure that you know where they are, what, you know, what park they're going to go to shoot basketball, to, you know, what, you know, is it going to be a home game or an away game with the school? You know, it is always knowing where your child's going to be and what your child's up to and what your child's doing. That's, you know, that's good parenting. But isolating your child to the point that, you know, it ain't going to know how to communicate with other humans because it ain't ever been around any, that is abuse, if you ask me. I mean, just saying. And if you're isolating your child like that, you got something to hide. You got something. You don't isolate a child like that unless you got mental problems, unless you got mental issues. Just saying. Yeah, they supposedly some of the well supporters were up on the land, and they had set up some alarms where if you know, like infrared, and if you go into it, it sets it off. And one of them got set off. They were all up there outside, from my understandings. They were all outside the well's house, talking up there. And one of the alarms went off, and they they seen somebody and went chasing after them. And by the time they got down on the road, they'd seen what color shirt the person was wearing. And when they got down on the road and went down through there, they saw Jody Sue's son with Jody Sue standing at the vehicle, to my understandings, and he was wearing the exact same shirt they was chasing. And they said it was him, that they knew for a fact it was him. And Jody Sue tried to say, no, that wasn't my son. But from what Don Wells had told me personally, he told me that he thinks the boy was up there trying to listen in on what was being said, so he could tell mommy everything. That's what Don told me. April C. I remember Scott H. And there was another guy, can't remember his name, but there was another guy involved in all of this too. And they took up a GoFundMe for Jody Sue. They were the ones that, you know, when they were getting the billboard money together, and they had a funding for Jody Sue to get off the hill, to, you know, to get out of there. And from my understanding, she made quite a few bucks out of that. And she made quite a few bucks over at Tiffany Marie's. She made quite a few bucks in a few places. And if you remember Jody Sue, she wouldn't even go on nobody's panel. She wanted you to put up her Cash App and everything, but you weren't allowed to, she said, profit off of Summer while she was on your panels, because she wanted to profit it all herself. You could put up her Cash App, but nothing of yours, because she didn't want people accidentally given to you instead of her. Jody Sue is an evil, crafty bitch. And if she's isolating that child, then she's doing it for a reason. And that's to keep that kid from telling some little friend some real business that mommy or daddy might report to law enforcement. Trust and believe me. And I only heard her kid come out and talk one time, and it wasn't on Scott's channel or any of their no man's channel. That was a woman's channel that she brought her daughter to talk. So, if you're insinuating that, that some of these, creators were, like what we suspect Don Wells of, of being where Summer's concerned. And we know he was where his sisters were concerned. Because there's too many witnesses, and there's a report that Mary made at the law enforcement up there in Utah. So, if you're insinuating that Scott H is, like weird or something, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm not going to listen to that because I don't believe that shit. I don't, if that's what you're insinuating, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to pan out because, Scott H really worked for those billboards. He helped in Summer's case a lot. And he tried to help Jody Sue all he could too. I remember all of that stuff going down back then, and there was nobody trying to get at Jody Sue's daughter. Absolutely not. Yes, it was Chase. It was Scott H and Chase. That's exactly who it was. I remember them guys. I remember all the money they was dragging in for her too. Yes. So, yeah, he did. And so did 423 Chase. They just wanted answers for little Summer. They wasn't trying to do anything evil in any way to anyone else. I totally agree to disagree. That's what we do here. That's what we do here. At the end of the night, you hug it out and you move on. And Doug helped Jody Sue too. Doug helps Jody Sue as well. But no, it wasn't Doug. It was them two guys got a GoFundMe up when the billboards money was coming out for Jody Sue. And there was a big scandal over it because some of the people didn't, they wanted all the money to go towards the billboards and not to Jody Sue. And that was the big, the big argument. The big argument was because, they didn't want Jody Sue, getting any of the monies, getting in the way of the billboard money with her GoFundMe stuff. There was a big dispute over that. If you were, if you were there, you would know. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys, if I'm right. Put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to tell you, I've got a mother freaking, damn good memory. I got a damn good memory. Photographic, to be honest. I got photographic memory. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't forget a damn thing. So if I tell you it happened, baby, it happened. Okay? I remember every damn thing down to a T. I wish I could forget. I wish I could. A lot of stuff I like to forget, but I can't. I remember everything. You can't go and tell me. Because I motherfucking know it all. Especially in Summer's case. And I can tell you a hell of a lot about Quentin's case. And I can tell you even more about the Idaho 4 case, and I didn't even cover it. But I can tell you step by step to it. I only have to see or hear something once. That's it. Oh, no, don't tell April to be quiet. She doesn't have to be quiet. She is most entitled. She is most entitled to the way she feels. I want people to think for themselves. I mean, however she thinks, however she feels, that's her prerogative, right? She's got every right to her own feelings. And I'm not going to tell her to feel any other way. I'm just telling her, she needs to go back. She needs to do her research. And, she needs to go back and do her homework, her research. And she'll find that what I'm saying is absolutely right. It's absolutely right. I don't forget nothing. I wanted those billboards for summer too. I wanted that reward fund for summer. It was just heartbreaking as hell when they took that reward fund, right? When they swooped in and took this little girl's reward fund, I expected it to be there till the day she was found. At least be there for, 4 or 5 years. I would have suspected they at least kept it up, until now. But they was after it from day one. It's like the city wanted it. They wanted it. The first day it came out, they wanted to get rid of it. And that's how it felt. That's how it felt when it came to the reward fund. And Don and Candace certainly did not want the billboards. They wanted the money. They personally told me that themselves. Don Wells told me that. Yeah. The guy that Candace had the first two children by, and his name was Andy. That's who she's got tattooed on her fingers. That was her first baby's daddy. And one of the children was severely abused, the little boy. And the other child, well, it was tossed through the system so much that, it was not normal as well, right? You can't be normal when you're shuffled all through the system your whole life and really could never call anywhere home. That's got to be very hard. And a lot of bad things happen to you as you're being shuffled through the system as well. So, with all of that said, both of those children, was and had been severely abused, throughout their lives, because why? Because they didn't have a good mother. They didn't have a good mother. There's a lot of children out there. There's a lot of children out there that's single parent children. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of these kids, they have really good moms, and some have really good dads. You don't have to be a mom, it don't have to be a mother. It just has to be a parent that truly gives a damn, right? It just has to be a parent that really cares. Oh, Lord. We got Big Bad Dawn in the back, right? Big Bad Dawn. Big Bad Dawn, you just got kicked. You got a steel-toe boot out of the back stage, right? There you go. Try that one on for size. But yeah, I'm not trying to get off topic tonight. I'm not trying to go into left field tonight with, Jody Sue's daughter. I'm not going to try to go there. At least Jody Sue's daughter's still here. Jody Sue's daughter's still here. You know, and Summer's not. Summer's not. You know, Jody Sue, I believe Jody Sue and Andy, they protected their children, even though they was over there on 110 selling Candace stuff to sedate up Summer and other little girls, other children, to be touched. They wasn't going to let anybody do that to theirs. And, they were making their money by selling the shit so other kids could be done that way. And that's probably the dirty hand they got in all of this. Right out of the mouth of Jody Sue. That's out of the mouth of Jody Sue. Now, let me remind you guys, this is not PG's words, damn it. This is Jody Sue's words. Out of the mouth of Jody Sue is, we protected our children because the way we made our money was by giving Candace stuff to sedate up those other kids, right? To give Candace so she could sedate not just Summer, but other little girls so they can be touched. That's out of Jody Sue's mouth, not ours.
All right. Well, that's good. Y'all go over there and ask why exactly it is he was selling drugs to the children at 110. Why he was potentially causing little girls over there to be sedated and to be touched with the shit he was selling them over there. Go ask. Because I have fucking questions. Not standing in front of him anymore.
I'm not standing in front of him anymore. It means she knew. It means she knew. The whole fucking time, she knew. And that's how they got theirs. That's how they got their money. They didn't need to do anything with their kids because, they were supplying the shit to get other kids done that way. Right? I mean, that's my opinion. That's exactly what she's saying. That's what she's saying. And so, you heard Andy Bernard when Marlena was on our panel. You heard what Andy said. He said, that was your daughter up there, Marlena, not mine. That was your daughter up there. There you go. And other little girls to be touched. There you go. So they knew what the hell was going on at 110 Ben Hill Road. They knew. And they knew what little girls were being touched. Just saying. Right? Yes, she does. Absolutely, Carrie. Yes, she does. Oh, yeah, that's true. Absolutely, April. None of them will ever tell the truth. Even with direct evidence, they will say it wasn't me. Of course. Because if they say it was, they're going to prison for a hell of a long time, too. For a hell of a long time. It's illegal to supply stuff to a mother to sedate her own child and other people's children so they can be touched. That's illegal. It's also illegal to be a mother and buy stuff to sedate your child and other little children to be touched. You see how this is a domino effect? You see how it's starting to roll? A lot of people going to prison, right? And that's why they work together with the cemetery over there and the people they knew, and why they planned it out so well to get rid of this little girl, that something happened, something went wrong. And if they took her to a hospital, well, they'd have been in prison. So they couldn't do that. Like when True told everybody about the OD. They didn't take her to a hospital. They took her to True's True's mommy's or grandmother's house. They took her there. And had she not made it, well, Summer would have been missing then. Because none of these people want to go to prison. Do you think that True's family would have wanted to go to prison for not calling and getting help before this kid became unlived? I mean, that's aiding and abetting right there. That's aiding and abetting a criminal. And you're going to prison. Especially if, you know, if there's a person involved who ends up deceased, you're going to prison. I mean, there is so much they can get you on. They wasn't going to, they wasn't going to call 911 later. They were going to be like, oh, hell, this got to get covered up somehow. Just like it did on June 15, 2021. It got covered. Now, who was it? Who was it that did something to cause Summer to have to be destroyed? Who was it that caused that? Who was it? Was it Don Wells? Was it Grandis? Was it Candace? Was it Jody Sue's son? Andy? Who the hell was it? Was it Chad Arnold? Was it, who was it? Who exactly did something that caused this little girl to not be able to get medical attention because somebody was going to prison if she did? Who did it? In my opinion, somebody did it. We just don't know who. Right? But you heard it come out of Jody Sue's own mouth that it was being done. That these children were being touched. You heard out of Don Wells' own mouth that he supposedly sold a $5,000 videotape that had his boss doing very naughty things with his daughter. And he was talking about Summer. Because he said that his boss started crying and said, they're going to call me a child you know what. Right? So these people think nothing of telling that this was going on. Now, I think that's pretty damn bold, seeing that law enforcement is hearing and listening and knows that there's a 5-year-old missing completely that they need to find and find the answers for. I think it's very bold. Anyone else with a 5-year-old missing child that said this kind of stuff would be in prison. Law enforcement would say, I don't care who you said it to. You said it. And your ass is going to prison for it. You told everybody that you committed a crime. You didn't say it to law enforcement? Yes, you did. We were listening. We heard you. You were saying it to everyone, including us, because we are part of the public. And you made it a public announcement, and therefore you're under arrest. We wouldn't have got away with that. So why did Don and Candace? Why is Jody Sue getting away with saying that, this was going on and she knew it and wasn't going to be standing in front of him and protecting him anymore? Why are these people not in jail? I mean, they're all confessing that, they were trafficking little children. Two weirdos. That they were allowing little girls to be touched by weirdos. So why are they still free? What the hell is wrong with our law in this country? What the hell is wrong with the law in Tennessee? It makes you start to wonder, is there videos of someone in a high place is why this case ain't getting solved? Is there a video somewhere of someone and that's the reason that these people are able to say things like this and walk free? What is the reason? Why are they getting away with this? I don't understand. I don't understand. Because if anyone else did that, your ass would be history. You would be history. And I know for a fact that law enforcement, for one, they have had prisoners testify that this person confided stuff in them and to them about a certain crime. And that person went to prison. They went up, Crap Creek without a paddle because of what another prisoner said. Another prisoner turned in evidence when another prisoner's word shouldn't be worth the fucking paper it was wrote on. Their credibility is crap. But because they told law enforcement what was said and was willing to testify and did, well, they got some brownie points, and the person they testify against, like I said, went up Crap Creek. Right? No paddle. No paddles. Now, this is just he said, she said bullshit. that got this person put away. People go into a bar. They confide into someone sitting in there. That person calls law enforcement. Law enforcement picks the other person up. They testify and that person goes to prison. But Don and Candace is able to come out here and admit it in whole public. It ain't he said, she said. It's their voice on recording. But law enforcement is overlooking it and doing nothing about it. Do you find that suspicious? Put a 1 in the chat because I find that suspicious. Just saying. I find that super fucking weird. That's my opinion. I'll keep it. White Boy Radio. You just got a boot. Only thing comes to my mind when I see or hear about White Boy Radio or whatever he calls himself is super freaky, right? That's all I could think of. Super freak, super freaky. Hey, Pam, is that you? I see your puppy, but I don't see you. Yeah, if I can't see you, I can't let you up. And Pam's in the back chat too, I think, or at least her puppy is. Something happened. I don't know. Oh, she just came up to say the dollar store. She was coming up to say that for you guys. Okay, Pam, I see you, girl. I see you. She might want to close that camera. No, I'm kidding. Hey, you better close the camera, girl. I don't think you want to. You don't think you want everybody to see your hair sticking up. What's up, girl? Damn, you sound like you got a cold.
No, I'm fine.
I don't think you want to. Girl, I got to kick you off panel, man. I might catch that shit.
What you doing up? What you doing, PG?
Not much, girl. What's up with you? What happened to her? I must have offended her. I'm sorry. Yeah, PG done ate one too many brownies, right? Come back, Pam. I was just kidding, man. For real. I was just kidding. I wasn't kidding about the hair sticking up. It was sticking up. But I was kidding about catching her cold on panel. Where's she at? What happened to you, Pam? I know you listening. Anyway, she's playing peekaboo. Yeah, she must be doing something. I was just messing with her, you guys. I was just messing with her. I guess some people you can't. Some people you can't play with like that, right? PG so mean, right? I'm so damn. Yeah, she's probably in the basement eating all the brownies. Okay, Pam, shut the camera. Girl, ain't nobody be wanting to see your cleavage. All right. Wasn't kidding about the hair. Hey, girl, you got me playing in the background.
So how you doing, PG?
I'm doing good. What about yourself, girl?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for the prayers still.
Hey, girl, you know we're praying for you and your boyfriend, both of y'all.
But you know what?
What?
PG, remember when Dawn was beating on that refrigerator? He says, I don't know what all she did.
Oh, let me tell you another thing. I seen Don Wells was on Doug. He was on Doug's, and Doug brought up Candace, and how Candace could have done something, and and he said, and he told Donald, he said, he said, I know that you want to protect her and all of this stuff, Donald, but you wasn't there, and you really can't say what she did. And Don's like, yeah, that's right, that's right. Man, he even at one point threw Candace under the bus, right? Yeah, I was actually watching it. Um, Maybe it was last night. I was watching it. But yeah, he absolutely, Don Wells on Doug's panel threw Candace under the bus. He admitted that, he can't say, I mean, he was basically saying, I'm not going down with her, right? I'm not going down with her. I mean, he
Like
told,
you played.
that's when he was telling Doug that, that he knew where he was, and he has all these alibis and everything. And, that nobody would be, that nobody was going to be able to implicate him in nothing. And he's like, and, and he told Doug, he says, you're right. I mean, she could have did something. He admitted it. I was like, whoa, yeah.
PG, Doug told me to have you call. You can use his content for Summers only. You, no one else. Karina A. Karina A's message in chat.
Karina
A just posted that in the chat.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, with all of them, every one of them that was up on that hill and around it has put Summer unalived or something. They all have said it. Candace, if I go out in the woods and I find Summer, I would have to scoop her up and I'd mess up a crime scene. I gotta put Summer aside because the boys are here and living.
Right.
Give me 2 days and I'll tell you everything that happened and we'll go live. Yeah.
And if she didn't know what happened, how in the hell is she going to tell it? Right? She ain't going to be able to tell it if she didn't know. That's what I'm saying. These people have admitted that they know exactly what happened to this little girl so many times. It's pathetic. And I don't understand why law enforcement ain't on it and ain't doing something about it. And, everybody's talking about this PI and this PI turning in a tip. His tip was about a brother wanting to talk about a brother. And, it had nothing to do with the search that they're doing up at Ben Hill in the cemetery right now. The reason they're up there is not, I know who turned it in, and it wasn't no PI. I know who turned that tip in. Matter of fact, is a couple people in here, more than one. I'm not going to give out names, but I know who turned everything in. And I know who originally, is, the one that the original person, I know personally, the original person who did all the work to get this in the works. And it wasn't this PI that everybody's wanting to give attention to. And his brother on brother thing, nobody's heard a damn thing about that from any direction whatsoever. And I'm not even sure he ever even reported it. But I do know what got reported to get law enforcement off their backsides. And I know who reported it. And I know who initiated it all to be reported. And it has nothing to do with that PI. It has all to do with the people on this channel and in this channel. And that's the truth.
And remember, when Doug was over on another creators, Doug was over there and he asked Candace what kind of knee brace was Grandis wearing. But you can go and ask Dawn and he'll tell you he's never seen a knee brace on Grandis.
Well, when they did the interview, I actually have the video where they did the interview, and Grandis is sitting in the background. You could see her sitting back there with no damn knee brace on. There's no knee brace at all on this woman. You know, she used the doctor to go into Kingsport that day. You know, they had to think of something really good to go in there, and what better than the hospital? So they used her knee to go there in order to pick up Hunter, in order to go to that swimming hole. That swimming hole was real. The real destination was the swimming hole, but they couldn't just take Summer to Kingsport, pick up Hunter, and go to a swimming hole. How in the hell would that look? They didn't take the boys. They get up real early, go pick up Hunter, and go to a swimming. That wouldn't have looked right. They needed.
Why didn't they take the boys? They were going swimming.
Because they had a plan for Summer at that swimming hole. They had an appointment with Summer at that swimming hole, meeting up with Hunter. Summer was already set up for Summer to meet up with Hunter in that water. I'm telling you. And I'm going to tell you another thing. Summer, I do not believe, is my opinion, that child is not alive at all on those milk jugs. She got dressed at Allison's house. She got dressed and makeup put on her face. And staged up on those milk jugs. And I truly believe now that when they went back to the house, they took that little shitty video about 10 minutes away from the house. They took that little crappy video to try, so that they can rule out the morning, because she wasn't, showing signs too much deterioration yet. So they did this little video, so that law enforcement would know that they made it back into Beach Creek, where they planned on saying she disappeared from. And, and then they went up on that hill and they gaslighted those boys, and they put her in a black tote, went down, met up with Chad Arnold, came back out of Ben Hill Road onto Beach Creek. And I believe they went straight over there to that mother freaking cemetery. And I really, truly believe that she probably is underneath.
And what?
That
Brandis?
But I'm going to tell you another thing, Pam. Andy Bernard. Now, I like to listen to people's words, and let's listen to him.
This since the beginning to people that made a difference. That I've told people about having the dream that I've, in the open grave.
That was not a dream.
It's been told. It's not a lie. And I have heard my whole life that the best time to get rid of somebody is when there's an open grave. The dude was buried on what day? The 18th? Okay, so 3 days after Summer went missing, they buried that dude. Do you think they dug the grave the day that Summer went missing? I'm saying it was dug between the day the dude died and the day Summer went missing, the 11th. Not if she went over there on the 15th when Candace left at some point in time off that fucking hill, took her over there. Maybe she went to Fred's and Fred helped her. If it was on the 15th.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. Maybe she went to Fred's and Fred went and helped her. Well, I kind of thought about that. That's one of the things that, has often been keeping me awake at night the last few nights. I really grabbed onto this a few when we played it. And, and a few days back. And I'm going to tell you something. I wanted to bring it back to your attention because I haven't been able to sleep well thinking about this. But you know what? Let's think about it. Chad Arnold is friends with Fred and Laura and them too, right? They're all in cahoots. These people are all in cahoots, y'all. Now listen to this. Fred and Laura said that they went to a scrapyard, and then they said they didn't. They said they took a car to the scrapyard and they got in. Then they took one to the scrapyard, they didn't get in. And then they said they were out on the road with some freaking motorcycle person dropping it off somewhere. And they never seen the motorcycle person again. And then, we've heard like, how many freaking stories have we heard about Fred and Laura? Where the hell was Fred? Where was Fred and Laura really? Where was they? Was they over there? Was they over there down in that damn hole digging as well? Were they over there helping to dig a hole big enough for that tote to go in? Was they over there digging too? I want to know where the hell Fred and Laura it was. Fred's out on Ziggy's right now, answering questions, talking. Hey, Ziggy, have your old man answer that. Where the hell was him and Laura for real? On June 15, 2021, when Summer went missing. Because they seem to be all over the damn place, but then no place at all. Right?
Yeah,
and all of these people know one another.
You got the same message I did when I asked Laura in a message, and I still have it. I asked her in a message, did you make it to the scrapyard? She said, yes. We didn't have to bring the car back home.
Right. And then they said they didn't make it. And then Fred says they didn't even go. And then he says he's out on the road with some motorcycle and his trailer. He's been all over the place. But you know what? It sounds like they might have been down in the hole digging to get that tote in there too, right? Because Fred and Laura had just pulled out right before Candace met up with Chad to pull out behind him. All of them might have went over there. All of them may have been over there. And
remember what Marlena said.
And listen, maybe Fred said that he was on the road loading up a motorcycle in case someone had saw his vehicle out there. Maybe he said that in case... because him and Laura may have parked out there and walked up onto the cemetery. And he figured if someone saw his vehicle, because you already got Chad's vehicle up there, you already got Candace's vehicle up there. Maybe he parked down on the road, and walked up him and Laura. And he figured, I'm going to say we were doing a motorcycle if anybody happened to just see our vehicle down there on Beach Creek Road. Right? Is that a possibility? Put a 1 in the chat if you think that's a possibility. Because I'm going to tell you, all these people seem to be scratching each other's backs, if you ask me.
And even Marlena, when you had her on your panel, she got mad at you and went over to this other channel. And you played it.
No, she didn't.
I ain't been to Morris's
cemetery. Marlena didn't get mad at me. Marlena got in a feud with one of my mods. And she was being really freaking rude to not just my mod, but to my whole chat. She was like up on my panel trying to go sideways at
yeah.
the people who who was helping her backside, be able to move around and stay clear of, the people who seemed to be keeping up with her at the time, wherever she went. And,
And she had the nerve to go over on this other channel, and you played the clip. I haven't been to Morrison Cemetery since summer passed. The
right.
3 key words, since summer passed.
And
And then she caught herself in a dumbfounded, like when I asked her about the basement. You don't know where you let your daughter go up there on Ben Hill Road and don't know where your daughter sleeps.
she said that on my panel,
Yeah.
not somebody else's. She went to another panel, but she said that on my panel.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the Morrison Cemetery.
She said that on my panel. The one I played, she said here.
Oh, was it
I
said
don't
over
know if
here?
she said it. I don't know if she said it somewhere else, but that was from here.
Well, she said it somewhere else too.
Well, probably so. She probably,
And she tried to get that person to run her Cash App after she got off of your channel. She tried to get that same person to run her Cash App. And that person said, no, I ain't running nobody's Cash App.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. No, that particular person, said that people could donate to her, but they wasn't going to be donating to Marlena. And she said she wasn't letting no damn suspect get any money, no monies, on her channel. But I don't think I don't consider Marlena really a suspect. I think Marlena was more of a victim to Chad Arnold and to Candace and to those people. Marlena ain't the smartest tool in the shed, and the thing about Marlena's like, the lights on, but nobody's home type person. And she's densed, to say the least. She's densed. And the one thing I did, take note of when I was, watching and observing Marlena Crawford is that she is not, she is not all with it, because she's so, I believe that she's still, addicted to illegal substances.
Oh, yeah.
But I also think that, all the stuff she's done in her past has kind of, destroyed who she, her thinking and everything. And I think that, she was being used and really abused by a lot of different people. What I'm saying is, Marlena don't know. She don't know no better than what these people are doing. What I'm saying is, she just goes with the flow. Only thing all she's thinking about is her next, fix. If you ask me, that's my opinion. And
yeah, that's what.
Right. And I think
that's what I got mad when she was on your panel, because she was like,
she's way far fetched, baby. That girl is way far fetched. And but I'm going to tell you something, Pam. I had a really good friend, a really, really good girlfriend, and she was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, until she got into that stuff. And I watched that stuff take her down like a snowball in Hades. And I'm going to tell you something. My girlfriend ain't here anymore. She's not here anymore. And I've seen people use and abuse her the same way I felt that Marlena was being used and abused as well. And that's what these people do to girls like that. And, and these girls, they don't even see it coming. They don't even see it coming, because they're all hooked up on that stuff. And it's just a mess. It's a real mess. And I think Marlena is in that mess, personally. That's my opinion. where she's concerned. And I think Chad Arnold used her to, to call Candace when he was down there at Fred's, because he didn't want his number going into Candace's phone. It would be better if Marlena's did. And that's why she called to tell Candace that, he's down there. And that's when Candace left the hill and went down, met up with him, and they left Ben Hill Road. That's when she left her phone on the truck at, the property, but the camera down on the corner at that one house caught her and him going out. So that's how they actually got busted. But, it didn't work out the way they thought. They wasn't expecting, trail cams to be handed over with that kind of footage on it. But the point is, I don't think Marlena really understood exactly what was going on. I don't think she understood that, that this was all, pre-planned and pre-set up, and the ratifications of what they were really meeting up for. I think she thought they was just meeting up for, some stuff and nothing big, nothing, just meeting up for Candace to pick up, a little this or that and whatever. I don't think she really grasped on to until she came on this panel. I think when she came up here, I think she started to understand her phone call and the reasoning behind it and all the stuff, just like Chad was using her to be up here at that particular time because of the cemetery over there. And I think she started registering her head. And that's when I think she went to law enforcement. I think that, the reward fund she thought that was in place for Summer, which there is one, I hear there is. And she may get it. But I think that's what prompted her to start talking to law enforcement and telling some things. And that's when they went looking for Chad and his buddy that was saying some off the wall stuff as well. That's, and Jimmy
Now,
Long.
two of them Chads are locked up right now, right? With no bond?
Yeah. There's two Chads. There's two of them in jail. They were arrested right together almost.
Yeah.
That's been a few weeks back that they got arrested, and that's not new news. That's old news. But I hear that somebody's singing like a bird, and I think the one singing is possibly Chad. I think Chad's singing now, and and they're up there all over Ben Hill Road. Law enforcement's been keeping an eye on it. They're getting ready to go in. They're going to be doing some stuff, and Summer possibly could be found. She possibly, this might be everything they need to find her.
When Candace put that, I always had a fault with that bench down there at the end of the road. Why would you put a bench down there if that wasn't her, if her favorite spot was the tree? And that's where they put the, that dress that was hanging on the tree. That tree was so... If that tree was so important, why wouldn't the bench be up there?
Well, I tell you why. Because Donnie Candace wants to memorialize Summer in the faces of all of us. They, like when they went, on the Dr. Phil show, and then they stopped up in Utah, and they went up in that, up in them hills, and they memorialized her up there, right? With a bunch of freaking rocks. Who in the hell piles rocks up on top of each other and calls it a memorial? Like you buried somebody.
And now Mary said them rocks are gone.
Well, I'm sure they would be with all the storms and everything that's been through there, high winds and everything else, and the weather take that stuff down. But the point being is, then they came back and, and they put the bench down there, memorializing her. And then they went and they just recently, about the time they cut her hair off in 2020, in 2021, about the time they would have cut her hair completely off like that, they go and memorialize her again this year, 2025. And they put flowers at the swimming hole. They put flowers over there on that one particular grave where we're trying to get law enforcement to look. And then the one that they hid, and, you know, didn't want nobody finding. And then, you know, they went up on Ben Hill Road and they put a bunch of little dollar store lights all around the tree, calling it, you know, memorializing Summer again. You know, it's just their way of, you know, in your face. Summer is, you know, is no longer here, in your face. But we are, you know, we're here.
Yeah, and that's like when Don put that banner across the driveway. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you have no morals? Because every time you drive up that driveway, you hit that banner. You run right over that banner.
Well, remember that they stuck the sign on the ground, laid it on the ground,
Exactly.
Then they stuck it up on the roof where nobody would see it.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, they've been doing everything they can to try to upset Summer's army out here. They've been doing all they can to upset all of us and you know, and throw it in our faces that they can say and do and act any way they want because they've got something that's going to keep their asses from going to prison. Now we need to find out what it is they got that's keeping law enforcement at bay. What do they have? That's what we need to know, because anyone else would have been arrested, right?
Exactly.
That's my opinion.
But
I'm going to keep it.
everybody, I heard that everybody up there on Ben Hill and Beach Creek are related one way or the other. And one, who wrecked Candace's car? I've heard of that too.
Right.
I heard Don wrecked it.
What did he wreck?
Supposedly he wrecked the Subaru.
Oh, I've heard all that stuff too.
But see, every time Candace would do something against Dawn, she would get a bruise or something. She would always, it's the control issue. Dawn wants to be in all control of this.
Right.
All control. And Candace can't have none. I mean, but Candace has showed enough to the people out there, Candace and Grandis, and they all three know. Everybody up here on that hill failed them kids and failed Summer. I'll still say it.
Right.
If they seen all this stuff was happening to Summer and to any other kid, then you failed the kids too.
Right. I don't mean to laugh, Pam. I don't mean to laugh. It's just.
But I'll tell you what. While my boyfriend's been sick, this is throwing it off Pete. I'm throwing it off Pete. But I'll tell you what. I don't know how many people's ever had one, but a friend next door brought me a slushie, a Pepsi slushie. Oh, it was so good. It is amazing. Now we get one every day.
I don't think you can drink milk straight from the cow. I think you have to I think you have to like pasteurize it or something. Don't you have to bullet
No.
or like
No,
something?
You could drink it from the cow. Well, you got to milk the cow and then drink it.
I thought that when you milk a cow, you have to set the milk aside and like the stuff comes to the top. And then you take that off.
It's a process, but you don't have to.
You make cheese and butter out of that, right?
Yeah.
And then the milk that's left, don't you supposed to boil it to kill the germs and stuff before you?
There's a technique that they do it, but it's not. Now it's only pasteurized if you buy it in a store and all that.
Oh, she said
it's still thick when you drink it from the cow.
Yeah, I always get my milk at the grocery store. I like that FDA approved. I like that. I like FDA approved. Even though sometimes they approve stuff that probably shouldn't have been approved, right?
The regular milk from the cow, it's thicker than the milk from the store.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because the stores, they put it through a processing that, makes sure that it ain't gonna make nobody sick. I think they put it through something to make sure nobody's gonna be sick.
Just don't let Candace get it around your cows. And you'll have or in your swimming pool, dipping her feet.
Little PG. Yeah, you're some. Yeah, worms. Oh my God. Yeah, I ain't a farmer. You guys. That's for sure.
What, you ain't one of them country ones?
Listen, girl. I put out a garden. Like I love to grow, green onions, and I love to grow the potatoes and the tomatoes and and all the stuff. I can grow some tomatoes. I can, and I can definitely put in a really good garden, but I'm not milking cows and chasing chickens. I'm not going to do that. My grandparents.
You ain't one of them that puts on a pair of shorts and wears a pair of cowboy boots.
Heck no. I'm going to tell you, my grandparents owned a farm, and I promise you, like they had chickens and all that stuff, and
eggs are the best.
It's not a pretty sight. It's not a pretty sight. Watching how they get that chicken in the pan.
Homemade eggs. Oh, they're good. Ugh. From the chicken.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. Like my grandparents. Let me tell you what. When they collected, I'd be washing those eggs off. Like I would be washing them off before they went into the refrigerator. I'm like, oh, those were terrible looking before they, before you wash them off and put them, put them away, they be looking bad. And it's not for the faint at heart. That's for sure.
Well, you just got to realize, if everybody realized
that egg does not look, that egg when it comes out of, when you pick that egg up and put it in a basket, it does not look like a store-bought egg. It does not look like that.
But think about it. Mr. Easter Bunny over here, where's he got to go get the eggs?
They be so
from the chicken. The Easter Bunny has to go rob the chicken for the eggs. So why is it that they call it the Easter egg when the bunny is a real thing and the chicken lays the eggs? Why don't you make it a chicken? Because Easter is not with the Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny don't lay the eggs. The chicken does. The Easter Bunny has to go steal the eggs from the chicken to go hide for the children.
I'm gonna tell you, I'd be washing them eggs up. I'd be washing them up and putting them in the refrigerator. I don't know why that stuff. I don't know why that stuff be on them, but I'm gonna tell you what. Like I told Grandma, no eggs for me. Right? I don't want it scrambled. I don't want them fried. I don't want them. Over medium, overdone. I don't want them. I don't want them any way they come. I'm gonna wait till I get back home. I'm gonna wait until my parents go to the grocery store and and open a clean carton of eggs, FDA approved. I'll have some of those. No thanks. No thanks. The grocery store is fresh enough for me. I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that.
So the farming life ain't for you.
And I'm gonna tell you something, girl. I remember the first time I seen one of them double yolked eggs. The first time I ever seen one, I was like, whoa, that's freaky. Right? That is freaky. I told my mom, I said, don't you even put that on my plate. Don't even put that on my plate.
Now,
Can't do it.
have you ever used the outhouse?
Yeah.
Not a double outhouse.
Hey girl, that wasn't a double. That was a freaking that was like quadruplets over there. Are you talking about on Andy's property? That was over there, baby. There was so many damn holes inside that outhouse. I couldn't keep up with them. I was like, oh my gosh. It just kept going.
I've seen single outhouses, not doubles.
That thing, man, was like Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Teenage Bear, Baby Bear. I don't even know if it kept going or not.
You know what? It could have been a control thing that if you go to the outhouse, I got to go with you.
Right. Listen, Pam, I got to get out of here, honey. I've done kept everybody overtime, but I wanted to come in and just, bring it to everybody's attention, that these people have really solidified that
Sorry if I run the parade.
Hey girl, you didn't run anything. I had, you coming up, that was a blast, and it's okay. It's okay.
Hey, but I got one word to say before I go out.
Dollars?
The dollar store.
All right. You had to say that for little PG. She was in here waiting for you to do it.
Dollar store.
You're right.
I love y'all. Keep the prayers going, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
We are dead, girl.
God bless y'all.
Hey, God bless. Much love. I love Pam. She's hilarious. Pam is hilarious, you guys. But listen, you guys heard it. You heard it for yourself tonight. You heard for yourself. All of these people, every last one of them are green. I don't care if it's Marlena. I don't care if it's Andy, Jody Sue. All of these people are green that this child, even Chad Arnold over there stocking people up at Morrison Cemetery because they got to be worried. I mean, you don't stock people up if you ain't worried, right? She's got to be there because he was stocking people up. And, if you ain't worried about something, then you don't care who's up there. And he was caring, right? He was caring. And he cared so much, he sent Marlena Crawford out here, right? Sent her out here to us because he was wanting information. And Marlena gets used. She gets used and abused. I'm sorry to, see it. I'm sorry to see it. And especially having a girlfriend, somebody I cared about and loved so much. Watching them be done the same way, to the point that they're no longer with us. It's sad. It's sad to see that happen to people like her. But, you can't, you can't really do anything. You can't help people like that till they're ready to get help. And, they gotta want it. They gotta want help before they can get help. So, I just pray that, I just pray that Marlena, unlike my girlfriend, I hope she gets the help needed to, you know, straighten her life around and to start living a better life before it is too late, you know, because then people will use and they will abuse you until, you know, you're not here anymore. And hopefully that don't happen. That don't happen. Maybe she'll get on the right road and the right way and go, you know, see what these people are and get away from it. That's what I'm hoping for her. You know, Marlena, you know, she's just really messed up. She's just really messed up. I don't think she's really a bad person. She's just really, you know, in a bad place. That's what she is. She's in a bad place, you guys. So anyway, let us keep the prayers going up for Summer Moon Utah Wells, because that's what this is about. This is about a 5-year-old missing little girl. You know, the topic is Summer Moon Utah Wells. The goal is to find her, bring her home, get justice against the evil people who could do this to her. We have been here way too long. We've been here way too long. And, you know, we want answers. We need answers. Summer deserves answers. Her brothers deserve closure. And so do we. So let us keep them prayers going up, because I'm going to tell you what, I don't know what's going on, but I do know that it's going to take God to solve this case. I really think and believe that only one solving this case is God Almighty. So let us pray that he does, and he does very soon, in the name of his son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Let's continue to keep the prayers going up for this little girl. From our lips to God's ears, know that he's listening. Know that God answers. He will answer if we keep praying. So keep the prayers going up, you guys, and keep them going up for Sebastian Rogers, Michael Vaughn, Jack and Lily, and pray that no more children end up like these children, in the name of Jesus. Amen. And keep the prayers going up for one another. And happy birthday. Happy birthday to everybody out there who had a birthday today. God bless. Much love. Good night, everybody.